Welcome back to Critically Incorrect, your weekly gaming podcast. I'm your host, Onliner Brandon, here today with Charlie, if you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we got a lot of exciting news to talk about this week, so yeah, looking forward to discussing it all. But of course, as we start off this podcast, I want to quickly remind you that if you have any topic suggestions, feedback, anything of the sort, leave it, of course, in the comment section down below, or click the link to make our way to our Discord server. But as we always start off this podcast with, we want to talk about what we've been playing for the last week or so. So, Charlie, give us a rundown on what you've been playing.
Yeah, before I get started, I will just say sorry to anyone if I look or sound pretty out of the weather. I've been pretty ill this week, so up until today, I've been coughing like crazy and sneezing quite a bit. So you'll have to excuse me. But yeah, I haven't played a ton this week. Like I said, I was ill, so um, I've just been lying around a lot and not playing too much. But the kind of main things I did get to play was last night and today, which was Resident Evil 4 VR and Unplugged VR, both of which are on the Quest 2. So Resi 4, I want to say I've put about an hour into. I played about half an hour yesterday and half an hour today. It's pretty cool so far. It's weird to play that game like so soon after beating it. Really, like it was only sort of like 6 to 8 months ago that I played through that for the first time. So it's quite weird going back playing it in like first person, being able to like move around a lot more freely than the original, which I like, but at the same time, the game is like super easy in VR compared to normal because it's so much easier to like walk around and hit headshots and stuff. That yeah, I'm finding the game a lot easier and even more action focused than it already was. So um, I'm enjoying it so far though. The controls work really well. I like how they've incorporated all the first person stuff. So far it's working pretty well. Obviously the visuals aren't amazing, mainly because it is just a port of basically the like PS4 version. A little bit dumbed down here and there to get running on the Quest, which is why it sucks that it's not really on PC VR. The only reason it's not is because Oculus are publishing the game, so it makes sense that it's going to have some kind of exclusivity there, which is a shame. But hopefully, at some point, it will get some PCVR port, or somebody will mod it so that you can download it on PC. Who knows whether that'll happen or not, though? Because as far as I know, this is the first time we're getting like a full-on Quest 2 exclusive. We had some Quest 1 and 2 exclusives, but this is the first one that is just Quest 2 specifically, so that'll be interesting to see. And then aside from that, I also did play Unplugged VR, which is the one I've been getting pretty excited about over the past few weeks. It's kind of like Guitar Hero, but in VR with hand tracking. So it's basically you're playing air guitar. You've got your left hand obviously playing the chords, whilst your right hand is strumming. It works surprisingly well. Like I play tested it probably about a year ago, year and a half ago now. And it was fun, but it was pretty clunky and there was quite a few issues with the game, but they've really done a lot of polish over this past sort of year and a half since I played. They did get a publisher with Vertigo Games, which are really well known in the space, and they've got some really good tracks on there. Unfortunately, they haven't really got anything too modern. I would have liked to see some more like smaller artists and stuff. You don't really get that in the game, which you used to get a lot in Guitar Hero and stuff. You'd get smaller artists that would end up blowing up because of the game. But it's mainly sort of popular music from sort of 15, 20 years ago. Some even older than that. So I am enjoying it. It does have a few issues, but they're not really the game's fault. Most of them are just down to the tracking. And unfortunately, like, it's good, but it's just not quite there. It does need some work, but hopefully games like this and hopefully other things in the works will kind of push Oculus and other companies to really improve the hand tracking. I'm probably going to give it another go. Obviously, I'm going to play it loads on Quest, but I will definitely be giving the game a go again when it comes out on PC VR, just to see how it works on Index as well. Whether I'll end up keeping it on there or refunding, I don't know, but I'm interested to see how it compares to straight up hand tracking, because obviously it's going to play quite differently, but it might be a little bit easier in some places, so that would be quite cool. But other than that, it's mainly just been sort of normal multiplayer stuff, but even that I haven't played too much, to be honest. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I haven't played terribly much in the last week or so. Mainly, it's been multiplayer games with friends. I did go back to Sackboy Big Adventure, so I played probably like another hour or two of that. Wanted to play a bit more yesterday, but some stuff came up. I was actually planning on beating it yesterday because I am like really near the end. It's funny, I like almost beat this game like near the PS5 launch, like during the holiday season, and then I just kind of dropped off because I didn't really have someone to play it with lately because the online was like really
Yeah.
rough at launch. It was really hard for us to play. But yeah, going back to that, and it's pretty fun in solo. Besides that, not terribly much. I've gone back to Back for Blood a bit, progressed a bit more with you, Charlie, and Kim,
Oh yeah, I
as
completely
well
forgot I
as,
played that.
yeah. And then I think, what else? There's one other game. Um, Forewarned, which is like a kind of like a co-op game. I also played a bit of that, probably like about maybe 30 minutes of that. But nothing terribly much. Just been kind of busy with midterms and stuff. But next week it should clear up maybe a bit towards the end. So looking forward to that. I really want to get Resi 4 VR, but I have a Quest, so like it really is irritating that I can't play it on that. And I'd need to buy the new and barely, upgrade that is the Quest 2. Like it'll have obviously performance improvements and stuff like that, which is why it probably is on the Quest 2. But it's just still frustrating that, yeah, I'd have to do that. So who knows if I end up buying a Quest 2 for one game that is Resi 4 VR, but I still haven't made that jump yet. But yeah, it's cool to see VR getting a lot of cool games. I know Lone Echo 2 came out a few weeks ago, and that reviewed decently well. Not as good as Resident Evil 4, but I think I saw people saying it was, more of the same of Lone Echo, so that's cool. Anyways, let's jump into the game news. And yeah, we got a lot of it this week, especially from a lot of the big publishers. So we'll start off with PlayStation. This morning they announced the state of play for next week. So this will be next Wednesday. I believe that would be the 27th. It's going to be at this normal time of like 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're in Europe, it's like 10 p.m. And yeah, it's going to be focusing on third-party games. So don't expect any like, first party exclusives from Sony to be announced or updates on God of War, anything like that. It's going to be third parties, probably on the smaller side since these state of plays generally focus on smaller third parties, but still pretty exciting. They say it's going to clock in around 20 minutes, so it'll be a small show for sure. Nothing to like, there's not going to be a ton of games there, but hopefully they'll have some cool stuff to show for like early next year. Yeah, games like that. I think the biggest thing that could be here would be like maybe Hogwarts Legacy, but even that, I don't know if that's on the scale of like a state of play. I could see them waiting for like the Game Awards or some random day in November or something like that. But Charlie, what are your thoughts on the state of play and what do you expect?
Yeah, I'm not going in expecting too much, right? Like they did say, third party, mostly already announced stuff, but they did say there's going to be a few new announcements. So I assume some smaller indie studios are going to be showing off stuff here. Um, I'm looking forward to it. They've said it's only like 20 minutes as well, so there's also not going to be a ton. But something on the scale of the one we got back. When was it? Like March time when they announced like Sifu and stuff.
Yeah, I think that would have been
Like I want to
March.
say that was just before the Ratchet and Clank like time. I think
Yeah.
March, April, something like that. Um, but yeah, I don't expect too much, but a few cool things. I think we get like another Sifu trailer. I feel like we've got one at basically every like state of play since that got announced, but I'm not complaining because it looks great. Um, Maybe like Solar Ash or something because that comes out in
Yeah.
December. But yeah, I also wouldn't mind seeing what was that? Little Devil
Little Devil
Inside. Like we
Inside.
haven't seen
Mhm.
that in like over a year at this point, and like that was meant to be out this year. I don't know if it did get delayed or not, but I'm really looking forward to that one. So hopefully we see some of that. But yeah, I'm excited for it, but I'm not expecting too much.
Yeah. Definitely nice. I didn't expect really Sony to have any event for like the next, well, really till the end of the year. And I've expected maybe we'll hear from them in like January, February. So cool little surprise. Who knows what they'll announce here, but just keep your expectations low given its length and also the caliber of past data plays, and I think it'll be fine. Anyways, another cool news story from PlayStation has to do with another exclusive going to PC, and that is God of War. Yeah, this one kind of came out of nowhere. They just kind of, dropped this in the middle of the week and said, hey, God of War is coming out before even the Uncharted remastered. Yeah, it's coming out January 14th, 2022, very soon here. This one was huge. Obviously, God of War is like probably the biggest PlayStation exclusive, I think, of like the last 5 years almost. Like, I definitely think God of War is probably like most people's favorite PS5 exclusive. If you ask them what their favorite one is, most will say like God of War, I'd say. So really cool to see that coming to PC. It's gonna have like the standard enhancements that you'd expect, like DLSS support, 4K, unlocked frame rates, widescreen support. So all the nuts and bolts that you'd hope and expect. So that's really cool. But yeah, definitely really nice. Are you planning on trying this out, Charlie, or have you got your God of War fixed before Ragnarok?
I don't know. I'm gonna wait and see. Like Days Gone and Horizon, I didn't pick up on PC. Mainly because like Days Gone, if I want to replay it, obviously it's got the patch on PlayStation. And the Horizon, I was planning to wait until close to launch, and then they patched the PS5 version, right? So, like it's got 60 FPS and stuff on next gen. And I did recently buy the DLC because I never played it, so I'm gonna get around to that with that one. God of War, obviously, we've already got the patch, so I don't really need the PC version. But I might give it a go closer to the date. I've got a couple of mates that are super excited about this because they've been waiting for it to happen, right? Like they really want to play God of War, but they don't have a PlayStation, and they didn't want to buy a console just for it. And because of like Horizon and Days Gone, and me talking to them, they were pretty sure it would happen. I think it's pretty good timing as well. Clearly, they're doing this to get more PC players to get into God of War and go, okay, I want to buy a PS4 or PS5 before the new God of War comes out. This gives them plenty of time to pick up the game, buy it, and play it, and then also try and find a PS5 if they if they want to get a PS5, right? Like I imagine the game's coming out in sort of June, July time, so they've probably got a couple months to try and hunt down a PS5 if they can, if not to get a PS4. So I definitely think it's a good idea on their part to get it out beginning of the year. But yeah, I'm excited about it. I don't see why people hate on stuff like this. Like the game's been out for by the time this comes out, it'll be just shy of 4 years. Like who cares at this point? Like Sony are like, why would they not do this, right? Like God of War at this point probably doesn't sell like hotcakes anymore. They probably still sell a decent amount of new copies, but I imagine most of it will be on the second hand market now. So they're like, well, if we put it on PC, we're gonna get crazy amount of sales like they did with Horizon. It just makes sense. Like it would just be a waste not to. Um, and it just brings in more console sales. So if anything, it's better for PlayStation in the long run. So it's not like they're gonna start putting God of War Ragnarok on PC day one, right? Like that's just not gonna happen. So I don't see why people get so annoyed. I am interested to see. I think Spider-Man is the only one I don't think will come to PC. That's always been my kind of one game I thought wouldn't happen,
You
just
think because
because
of
at this
Marvel?
I kind of that, but at the same time, Spider Man just constantly sells. I don't think there's ever a time where I don't see that it's doing well in the charts. Whereas God of War, I know, has done really, really well over the past few years, but eventually that will drop off, like it has. But I just don't. Spider Man is just one of those games that people will always pick up consoles for because it's just such a well beloved character, and I don't see if them having a need to do it. Maybe by the time Spider Man 2 rolls around, right? Things might be different by then, but I just don't. I'm not sure. I feel like they might want to keep that one just PlayStation, but who knows at this point. But I personally think that won't happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, I could see the reasoning for that. Like, it's such a household name. It's almost like PlayStation's Mario, where it's like, an IP that
Yeah.
will sell for years and years, no matter how long it's been. I still think it's possible we'll get one before Spider-Man 2. That's a good point. Yeah, they would want that to, obviously sell consoles. I'm just wondering if they kept, like, what would the difference would be? Like, if they brought over Marvel Spider-Man for PC, but then it had like the second, the sequel, essentially, obviously be what it normally would be, where you'd have to own a PS5. Would that still be enough, or do they think that that would hurt sales? It's interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely am really interested to see what happens to Spider-Man. But it's clearly like now it's like any IP will come to PC. We've seen Uncharted and God of War go in like the last few months, and those were essentially like pretty much the prime PlayStation icons if you think about it. Because before that we were getting like the new IPs like Horizon and God of War, or no, Horizon and Days Gone. But now anything's fair game. But I personally like that. The more people that can play these games, the better, right? So, next, please give me Bloodborne on PC. My God, I want that in 60 FPS. Uh, yeah. Anyways, going into other news stories, a small but sad delay comes in the way of Nintendo. So Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot, you might have seen this in the Nintendo Direct that I think was the E3 one back in June. Yeah, that was supposed to come out, I want to say in like December or at the very end of this year. That got pushed to spring 2022. This is a sad delay for me personally because I don't use my Switch much, but these like tactic games are what I always like love to play on Switch. I played like Fire Emblem Three Houses and I beat that game in like a matter of a few weeks, just because it was so addicting to play on the Switch and it was just so satisfying. Um, I've heard so many good things about the Advance War series. I'm definitely gonna be picking this up, but looks like we'll have to wait a bit longer before we can. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that delay, Charlie? Were you personally looking forward to picking this up, or did you not care?
Yeah, I was actually looking forward to this one. I never played any of the Advance War games, but my boss at work, he absolutely loves the original Advance Wars games. He doesn't play like he doesn't like Nintendo games at all, and he doesn't play a ton of games these days. But when they announced this, when we watched the Nintendo thing at work, he like got really excited about it, and he was like, "I might pick up a Switch just for it."
Yeah.
So if he's into a game, then it's probably really good. So I'm super excited about it. It is a shame it got delayed, but to be honest, I don't know how much I would have played it at that point because there's going to be so much out at the end of the year. Although saying that spring, I don't know how much like there's going to be
I
so
was gonna
much
say
out.
there's like nothing in
Um,
November
but
besides.
like it like if it was because it was coming out in December, right? Steam Deck
Yeah.
comes out in December. If my Steam Deck had turned up in December or January, like there's no way I was going to be using my Switch. So, um, we'll see. But I'm excited about it. It's just a shame it did get delayed.
Yeah. Just a quick run off. Are you planning on still staying true to your Steam Deck pre-order?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. They're releasing more videos about it. Like that, I think they announced this week the verified like line of games they're gonna be doing, where like
Yeah, yeah.
essentially on the store page you can see that. So yeah, we're getting close. I'm looking forward to that. Anyways, I'd say probably the second biggest news story, or maybe even the biggest. Yeah, maybe second. Has to do with the GTA trilogy that we've been talking about for so long now in the podcast. So many rumors, and then we finally got the announcement. I want to say like 1 or 2 weeks ago. Well, we finally got gameplay footage this morning, and I'd say I'm pretty impressed. I don't know your thoughts yet, Charlie, but I actually was pretty impressed by this trilogy so far. So I'll give some quick details real quick, and then we'll discuss what we saw. So as we know, like knew earlier. This was coming out in November. We got a specific date for the digital. It's going to be November 11th. And then for a physical edition, which we actually don't think we knew about, that's coming out on December 7th. So just a few weeks after that. Yeah, the trailer is out now. You definitely go watch it. It has a really cool, like cartoony look, in my opinion, where it like still has that charm of the old games, but yeah, the lighting, it just looks like one of those RTX enhanced mods, kind of like what that one leaker described. It essentially fit the bill exactly for this trailer. The enhancements did impress me more than I thought they would. I always thought these were just going to be like a glorified port, especially when we started hearing that these things were coming to like mobile next year. But I gotta say, this definitely does look good. I haven't, heard too much on like terms of the controls and how much they fixed on that front, but if we get like a lot of improvements on there where it at least plays like GTA 5 or something, sign me up. I'm definitely playing these on November 11th. Like that's crazy. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Charlie, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think it looks really good. I think they've done a really like unique but cool job with remastering slash remaking it, right? Like they've ported stuff over to a new engine, and rather than completely remaking assets, they've almost remade them, but still made them look like they did. Like I mean, you look at the character models, right, and they look like PS2 character models, but they're a lot more like you said, cartoony. Like, and I kind of like that the art style they've gone with. They haven't tried to make it realistic. They've kind of stuck with what it was and kind of gone all in with the look, and I'm really liking the look of that. Um, in fact, I think the best like comparison I can think of in my head, looking at like how they've redone stuff with like the lighting and things, is like the Quake 2 like RTX demos, like where they've ported everything over and kind of given it a visual overhaul, but then the lighting just makes it look better, and it's like kind of night and day difference when you don't have like the reflections and stuff. It reminded me a lot of those demos, seeing that. So I'm excited for it. I don't know whether I'll pick it up on the 11th, mainly because it'll be right in between COD and Battlefield, which I'm planning to pick up. So I don't know how much I would actually play of it. And also would want to get it physically. I don't know if I'd want to buy it digitally because it's $60, right?
That would be a really cool
Um,
physical get.
and it's the same price physical, and I quite like to have that one physically, so I might just wait, pick it up. I will still give it a go because I've seen. Well, I don't know if they've officially announced it, but I know IGN posted an article saying San Andreas was going to be on Game Pass,
It is going to be on Game
um,
Pass standard.
and then GTA 3 is going to be on PS Now in December. Um, so I'll probably give San Andreas a go just for a bit, just to see what it's like. And if I like the look and feel of it, I'll probably pick up the full thing in December. I have seen they've said like the controls and stuff they've revamped to be more like GTA 5, which is cool. I don't know how that'll work with sort of like the movement and running and kind of the lock on aim and stuff. Because I don't really know what it was like, with the original games. I can hardly remember them, so um, I imagine that will be a big improvement. But yeah, I really impressed with the look of it. I think going into it expecting it to be a very bare bones port made it come out a lot better than it was. So um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just don't know whether I'll pick it up day one.
Yeah, they have said that like there's gonna like it looks like they're giving it a lot of support. Like the Switch is gonna have gyro aiming and stuff like that. Definitely looks like they have some good improvements around. So yeah, really excited for this. I actually probably this is probably my most anticipated release for the end of this year. Like I'm looking forward to playing Battlefield 2042, but that I know what to expect. But like the trilogy, I did actually buy this on like the Steam sale like earlier in the summer, but I never ended up touching them, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. So now I can pick up this remaster and play them. So yeah, I'm fully excited for that. So yeah, I'm just really glad that these were finally shown off and that they look impressive. So yeah, definitely really cool. Anyways, speaking of games that look impressive, the Stardew Valley developer finally announced his next project. Yeah, Stardew Valley, obviously one of the most beloved indie games, created by one guy. It's one of those like stories where like one person individually, created a game and is able to, create a game that was so beloved by so many people. Yeah, he announced his next game called Haunted Chocolatier. Yeah, he just kind of like posted this on Twitter yesterday saying like I'm gonna announce a new game in or announce something in 1 hour, and then the hour came and gone, and he pretty much just uploaded the trailer for his next project. It looks very much like Stardew Valley, but essentially instead of like working on your own farm, you're gonna be kind of like mending to your chocolate factory. Or yeah, your chocolate factory. The music was really really cool. I definitely recommend listening to the trailer. Stardew Valley was big on its music. It looks like he's pulling from a lot of his systems from Stardew Valley, so like I think the currency currently is like the same. Granted, this game's obviously in development, so maybe he just ported over these systems as kind of like just temporary to get stuff working before he modifies it. But it definitely looks really impressive, especially considering it's obviously just him working on it again. Um, Definitely go watch the trailer. It is just obviously him working on it, so it's going to be a few years probably before we see it. He reiterates that like in the description of the video. But yeah, Charlie, did you have a chance to go check out the trailer? What'd you think?
Yeah, I watched the trailer when he announced it. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm not a big fan of Stardew Valley. It's just not my kind of game. But I can see the appeal. I think it does look really cool. Like you said, the music was really interesting. It is very much Stardew Valley, right? Like you're instead of running a farm, you're running a chocolate shop. You've got to get all the ingredients and stuff. There's all this weird stuff going on because it's in like a haunted house. I think is the premise, and then obviously you're building the relationships with the different characters in the town and stuff. So it's very similar to Stardew Valley in that aspect. I do know he said in like his blog post that the video might look really finished, but the way he makes games is he'll make like loads of vertical slices, and just so that he has something that's at least playable, and then build off of it. So he said he is still very early on in development, like he's not that far into things, and it'll be a while before there's actually something that people can play, which makes sense. Like you said, it's one man developer. I think it took him 10 years to make Stardew Valley, so it's probably going to be at least sort of 2 years before I would imagine he even talks about like a date and stuff. But yeah, I think it looks cool. I'm excited for the people that really like Stardew Valley. Some of my mates absolutely adore that game, so they're very excited about this. But yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Stardew Valley is great. I haven't played terribly much of it. I've only played probably like 5 to 10 hours, but essentially scratches that Animal Crossing itch where if you just want to relax, Yeah, it fits the bill completely for that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Really cool to see that he's working on something new, and it looks great. Anyways, Charlie, did you want to talk about this next news story with Battlefield 2042?
Yeah, so there was a bit of a smaller story come out for 2042 this week. Basically, they showed off like a new gameplay trailer that went over the last five of the specialists that are going to be in the game at launch. So these were ranging from obviously a load of different classes like the previous five we had. But alongside this, more importantly, they did put up a blog post basically detailing basically what they learned from the beta, all the improvements they've made since the beta build. I think there was a lot of details in the blog that I really suggest people who are a bit unsure of 2042 on go and check it out, because there's a lot of really cool clips on there that do kind of shed a light on a lot of the problems people had, and they already seem to have fixed a lot of those issues prior to launch. So stuff like HUD things being missing, so stuff like the comma rows, which is common in Battlefield, basically allows you to ping different places and ask for ammo, that kind of thing. Just wasn't in the beta. It is in the game. It's just it was cut out of the beta build. Stuff like seeing where medics are when you're down, that was just taken out of the game. The ping system was basically non-existent. That's in the game. A lot of the HUD elements can be edited, and they've made them a lot clearer as well. The kill feed, I know they've made a lot of edits to, stuff like that. They've done a lot of balance tweaks to the weapon, so there's a ton of stuff that they did, and it looks really promising. I enjoyed the beta anyway, but seeing stuff like this does make me a bit more hopeful. I'm still a bit unsure about the whole beta fiasco because there's such conflicting information. Because DICE were kind of saying the build was a few months old, and they kind of back this up in this. They then say that the build's from August. That's when they decide to split off from the main build and kind of polish it off for the beta, which is obviously odd because they delayed the beta by a month. So it's kind of weird that they're saying that. Um, and then also stuff like Tom Henderson was saying the beta wasn't actually like months old. It was only a few weeks old. So I don't really know. It's an odd one. Um, Either way, they've clearly made a lot of improvements since they did split off that build. They said a lot of these changes are going to be in place for the 12th, which is early access launch, and then they'll have even more ready for the day one patch on the 19th, I believe it is. Yeah, so the full launch of the game. I think it's the 19th. Whatever day it is, it comes out 17th, 19th, something like that. So that most of the fixes will be in place on day one. It's just there'll be a few missing for early access because they just won't be quite ready. But here's hoping the game will not be a complete mess on day one. I imagine there's going to be problems this Battlefield. There always is. But if there's a lot of improvement over the beta and stuff, I imagine it's at least going to be a semi-smooth ride with some bumps, but not super bumpy.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to playing it. Did Battlefield 2042 ever get announced for Game Pass? That never was a thing, huh?
No, there was a few rumors like
Mm-hmm.
back when they showed it off at the Xbox event and stuff, but no. I mean, I never thought it would happen purely
Yeah,
just
that would
because
be too good to be
it's
true.
EA's biggest like game of the year, right? And even if it was, it would only be on console. I would never see that happening for PC. It's just too big a market on PC for them to do that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
definitely.
it's on EA Play, right? So you'll get like a 10-hour trial if you have EA Play. So you can, if you have Game Pass, you'll be able to try it out for a bit. You just won't obviously get to keep it.
Cool, cool, cool. Anyways, a new story that I'm sure a lot of you will be glad to hear about is the fact that apparently Ubisoft is finally making a Splinter Cell mainline entry. So this comes from VGC. Obviously, we've talked about VGC in the past. They're pretty credible. Sources told them that after the fact that they announced a VR game and a mobile Splinter Cell VR game, or mobile game for Splinter Cell, that the fact that Ubisoft wants to make a mainline entry for fans to kind of just essentially answer concerns over what they've been doing lately with obviously the franchise. And after every single event, obviously that's the one thing everyone asks for is where Splinter Cell at. So yeah, very very cool. It's very light on details. Apparently, it just got into like production or like it's making progress into like full production now. So I imagine this is probably still like a few years out. And it amazes me, man. It amazes me how just now this game's going into full production. Like I've heard people want a new Splinter Cell game since like 2014, 2015. It's like crazy that it took them this long before we finally get to see it in, full on production. But nonetheless, I think we'll all take it. Granted, whether or not modern day Ubisoft can pull off a, linear Splinter Cell game, or we don't even know if this is linear. It could be an open world Splinter Cell game. My God. But Mainline is definitely reassuring to a lot of people. I know a few friends of mine that definitely are glad to see that. So, yeah, Charlie, what'd you make of this? Do you have any hope in this game?
To be honest, I'm not like super excited about it. I kind of wish they just would double down on the VR game, and just kind of put like I know it's like the complete opposite of what people want, but I would honestly like them to just wait, because you never know. The VR game might come out and it might blow people's minds. I doubt it will, right? Like I doubt it's going to be anything crazy good. But I think it would be cool if the VR game came out and people went, "Oh, actually, no, this is the right direction for Splinter Cell. I want to pick up a VR headset because clearly this is the future of the series, and I want to try it out in this way." So the fact that they clearly are open to just doing a Splinter Cell like mainline entry kind of makes me doubt that Ubisoft have confidence in the game, right? Makes me think that maybe they doubt that it's going to be the game that people would actually want for the series, which I think is going to be a shame. Um, but I'm excited for the fans of the series. Obviously, it seems super early, so I imagine it's a few years before we even hear about it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It could be cool. I'm not getting my hopes up because it's Ubisoft and they're making more and more repetitive decisions that I'm not a fan of these days. Um, but I'm definitely going to be interested in seeing this how this turns out at least. But I'm still more excited for the VR game just because I feel like that has more promise than just a, you know, same Splinter Cell game would be. Obviously, it's been a long time since the last mainline one, but you can't imagine it's going to be too different, right? If it's just another linear single player game, I would like some
Yeah,
evolution, right? So we'll
yeah,
see.
that's always been my thought process as well. Like, the Splinter Cell VR game has always interested me more because it's like a perfect genre for VR. And the fact that they'd be able to essentially possibly do what like Half-Life Alyx did, where they'd take like an existing franchise and like evolve it with VR. Obviously, based on this announcement, you're right. It doesn't seem like they have much hope in it,
Yeah.
considering the fact that they're already working on another game alongside it. That would please like OG fans, but who knows? Yeah, I hope we see it soon. I know they're working on like what Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, so hopefully we see those projects sometime in the near future. But yeah, I forgot about those almost. And yeah. Anyways, we'll move on to Suda51. So, Suda51 was once asked to make a Deadpool game by Activision. This was way back. I want to say what? This would have been like after No More. When did No More Heroes 1 come out? That would have been like
2008, 2007, something
yeah,
like
I was
that.
gonna say. So this would have been around like 2008, 2009 or so. Essentially, he was asked to work on a Deadpool game. I don't know what happened. Did he turn it down, or did
Basically,
something
just
not work
didn't
out?
it didn't pan out. Basically, in
Hmm.
pre-production, I think was what he said.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, he recently just came in at interviews and said that he would still be interested in making it. Um, yeah. Wasn't there also like another? Was it Deadpool or was there another IP I know that people wanted Suda51 to make that apparently someone was like interested in working with him? Was it Ryan Reynolds? I think it might have been Ryan Reynolds.
It might have been
Yeah, it might have been
Deadpool. I think
just
because people were
Deadpool. Yeah.
talking about it recently,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah, I think
people
it
were kind
was.
of saying because he's had a partnership with James Gunn in the past, they were kind of like, "Hey James, you should totally hook him and Ryan Reynolds up and get this happening." I mean, it's still good. I'd love to see him do a Deadpool game. I think it'd be like a perfect fit for their writing style and weird gameplay choices. I don't know how down Marvel would be for it because obviously it wouldn't be an Activision thing anymore. It would be Marvel. Obviously, Suda51 did also get acquired recently, right, by NetEase. I think it happened today or the day before. Chinese company. So how, or not Suda51, but Grasshopper, his studio. So it'd be interesting to see how that would work. But I would definitely love to see him do a Deadpool game. I think it would be really cool. I love the No More Hero game, so I still need to play 3. Um, but yeah, I'd be super interested in that. I guess we can talk about the next story as well, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
you can
also
mention it. Yeah.
connected. So Suda also said, I think it was in the same interview, maybe in a different one, that over the next 10 years they're planning to work on 3 new titles, which might be returns to previous franchises, but could also be some new IPs. So it's pretty cool to see that
Very.
Grasshopper clearly are doing well. You know, right? Like it's vague, but clearly No More Heroes 3 did well for them if they're able to say that they're going to be working on multiple projects. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see whatever it is. Like I enjoy all the Studios games, so um, whether that's old stuff or new IPs, either way, I'm excited to see what they turn out to be. But I'm sure they're all a ways off yet since they only just finished No More Heroes 3. So
Yeah, Suda 51's like my one of those gaps I have in gaming history and also just gaming and genres and all that shit like that. I haven't played any of his games, so I definitely need to. I have a few friends that have played them and recently I've talked about them, so yeah, it's on the list for sure. Anyways, Cyberpunk and Witcher 3's next gen versions both got delayed to Q1 2022. Cyberpunk 1 wasn't really that, surprising to me. We haven't heard really anything about it. Um, yeah, just to be expected. The Witcher 3 one did surprise me because that wasn't being done by CD Projekt Red. I think it was being done by some other studio. I forgot the name. But yeah, both of them got delayed. Essentially, they were selling CD Projekt Red. We're not ready. Give us more time. And then yeah, I'm guessing CD Projekt Red didn't want a repeat of what happened last year with Cyberpunk 2077. So they'd rather delay it, obviously, to make sure the quality's better. So yeah, you can respect, I guess, that. Yeah, nothing really big on that front. Did you have anything else you want to add to that, Charlie?
not really. I mean, I was shocked to be honest that the Witcher one got delayed. I
Yeah,
thought that was a given that would come out alongside the new season of the show because they were gonna have new content based on that, right? Like it just made sense. Wonder why it got delayed. Like I feel like that it just sounded like it had been ready for ages and they were just waiting to release it. It didn't seem
yeah,
like it wasn't finished, especially because I know, like you said, CD Projekt weren't the ones working on it. So that one was a bit odd to me. Cyberpunk kind of made sense.
yeah,
They'd already said that they were willing to push it back. So like it makes sense. I would much rather they push it back than, like you said, release it in the state that the original game did and have a ton of problems at launch. So, um, yeah, I think the delay makes sense. I just want to play it again when it's ready. Like I've got the game installed, but I'm waiting for when they do a nice big update, some cool new content and stuff. But I imagine it'll still be a while before we get any of the expansions, which there's been some rumors on recently that like Tyler McVicker has sort of reported on and stuff. They seem to have changed a lot since before launch. They're more kind of like expanding already existing areas of the game rather than giving you new areas to explore,
I
which is an
like that.
interesting choice.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm interested for anything Cyberpunk and Witcher, so I'm excited to see what they do. But just take their time, like don't rush
yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely agree. And speaking of delays, Elden Ring sadly did get delayed. This one did hurt me personally, just because it was so nice to know that we were going to be playing another From Software game in like 3 months. So sadly, that got pushed back to 4 months now. So that's coming out on February 25th. There was a good, news drop to drop alongside this, and that's the fact that we'll actually be able to play this next month if you get into their online test. So they did something similar to like Dark Souls Remastered. Essentially, From Software likes to do these tests to just make sure that the online servers are working. It's always weird to me because like it's not like a lot of people use the online. I mean, you're kind of forced to in some situations, but it's not one of those games that you'd think would like be heavy. But nonetheless, still very smart to test this stuff out before launch, and will give us obviously a good choice or a good chance to try a slice of the game. So I'm looking forward to that. Just the fact that we'll be able to play Elden Ring next week or next month if you do get in is very exciting. So yeah, Charlie, were you signing up for the Elden Ring test yet or no?
Yeah, I did sign up for it. I don't know if I will play it or not. Like I'm not too bothered, and I don't know what you'll actually be able to do in the test, right? I imagine it's very basic stuff. So, and I think if it happens, I think it's happening like the weekend of like the Battlefield early access. So I don't, I don't even know if I'll play it because I might be busy playing Battlefield. Um, but yeah, I'm sad about the delay mainly because it's coming out near my birthday, and now it's coming out in the middle of every other release ever. So I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
how I
can we
feel
talk
about that
about
one.
how that's like literally on the week of everything else? Like
Yeah, like
that's
that
literally gonna
last week of
kill.
February is insane.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a week like that, let alone in February, be that stacked. So definitely a lot of stuff has to move. I think what is that week like? We got Horizon, the Destiny expansion, Elden Ring. Like I think Elden Ring and
Sifu.
Horizon have a chance at staying, but definitely I'd say D2 should probably move, given that's only expansion, or Sifu as well. Sifu for sure
Yeah.
should move. But yeah, still very nice to see that we'll be able to play it next month. I'm definitely playing this. I really want to know how Elden Ring plays, and it's not like it will really spoil anything. Like Elden Ring, it will be just like the other From Software games for me, where it's going to be like a long 20 plus hour experience where I'm going to have plenty of struggle and, plenty of chances to learn the game's combat and master it. So the sooner I get to try it out and get a glimpse into this world, the better. I do wonder how the slice will work given the fact that it is like an open world. Will they like restrict you to like a certain area? I imagine they will. No one, like, we're not just gonna be all playing the whole game next month, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Anyways, going into kind of like I guess we'll keep this as like our last two segments. DC Fandome was last week, and we got some new trailers for Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, and The Batman. So, yeah, I guess we'll just go over this as like its own little segment here. I guess we'll start with probably the game side of things, given that this is a gaming podcast. So, yeah, we'll start with Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. I guess I'll let you start, Charlie, with your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about Gotham Knights first. I obviously am already excited for this game. I think the trailer was. I'm kind of like 50-50 on the trailer. I really liked some parts of the trailer. I thought it did a really good job of sort of showing off like the Court of Owls and some of the different enemy types. I was not a fan of the Penguin's voice. I don't know what it is about it, but I just didn't find like he's meant to be telling like this creepy rhyme about the Court of Owls, and it just didn't come across that sinister at all. Like, I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of his voice compared to everything else we've heard from the game so far. But it still looks great. I was a little bit disappointed that we still don't have a date, especially since a date did leak before DC Fandom. I thought we might get one. So I'm hoping that's still earlier in the year. But the fact that there's no date makes me think that maybe they're potentially thinking of delaying it sort of later in the year and they don't want to give a solid date just yet. But overall, I thought it was a pretty strong trailer. I did want to see some more gameplay, but I was happy with the trailer we got. I guess I'll talk about Suicide Squad 2. I was actually like, this was probably the biggest surprise for me. Like, I was interested in Suicide Squad, right? Like, it's Rocksteady, it's the Arkhamverse. Like, I was going to be interested in it anyway. But I thought that's one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time. Like, it was a really, really good trailer. Like, it gives you a good taste of the different characters, what you're going to be doing. The music choice is really good. I think it's edited, like, almost to perfection. Like, it is a very, very good trailer, and got me a lot more excited about the game. There's a lot of like hints to what might be going on in the plot. I liked the designs of the Justice League. I liked the comedy banter between like Captain Boomerang, and Harley Quinn, Croc, and Deadshot. Like, I think they all play off each other quite well. So I'm super excited about it. I just want to see gameplay now. I do hope we see it soon. I'm kind of leaning towards we might get gameplay at like Game Awards or something, because Rocksteady do have a track record of being at like the Spike VGAs and stuff way back when. So I'd like to see gameplay soon, and I think that is a possibility we see it there. But I'm super excited about it. It seems to be hinting at a lot of sort of plot threads from Arkham Knight and stuff being continued and maybe even wrapped up. There's also a severe lack of there's lack of Batman, but there's also hints of Batman at the same time, and I feel like it's just going to be some kind of weird surprise reveal. So I'm super excited about it. It's been way too long since the last Rocksteady game, and if it does come out next year, it will have been like 7 years since Arkham Knight, which is insane to me. Like, it came out just before I finished high school, and now I've finished high school, college, and university. So, like, it's been way too long.
Yeah, that's true. Like, Arkham Knight came out for me when I was like entering high school. Like, I think it was like that summer going into high school. Yeah, it would have been, the summer going into high school. And like now I finished high school those 4 years, and now I'm like on my third year of college. That's crazy. Yeah, I almost forget Rocksteady's a developer. I
Yeah.
just like straight up forget they develop games now. It's like I haven't seen them in like so long. Like, that's crazy. I guess I'll give my thoughts on Gotham Knights first. Gotham Knights, I was underwhelmed by the trailer. I still think the game looks really cool. I like the premise of it being the Court of Owls. It's like a really cool story. I watched the Gotham TV show, and that was like a really cool interpretation of that. And obviously people rave about the comic storyline as well. So looking forward to seeing that. The trailer just really didn't do anything new for me. I wish we got to see more exciting stuff, but it was just more of the same, I guess. So yeah, I wish we would have gotten like a date at least for that as well, but we didn't. So yeah, I thought that would have been early next year. It could still be early next year, but yeah, still TBA on that front. Suicide Squad, I do agree. That was a really good trailer, like especially the way it starts up with like Arkham Asylum and stuff. I was like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
we're back. It just yeah, like Charlie said, it's like a really good trailer of like selling you the mood and premise of this game, teasing you, giving you like shots out of context, but giving you a lot because of that. Yeah, just a total mood setter for sure. Yeah, looking forward to it for sure. Just like comedy's really really cool, especially like that very ending part with the penguin. That was cool. Yeah, just a lot of cool potential with that game. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, and just seeing how it plays ultimately. Because yeah, there was rumors that it was like a games as a service. I don't know if we still have confirmation on that or not. So yeah, I was hoping that this would kind of like reveal one way or the other, because everything I've seen so far, it makes me feel like it's a single player game, but the reports have always said that this is a games as a service, so I'm still confused on that front, but yeah, that trailer was great. And yeah, I guess we can talk about the Batman as well, so if you want to give your thoughts on that, start
Yeah,
us off.
I thought the trailer for the Batman was really good. I'm just as excited for that film as I was before. Um, I was a bit like when they first showed off the footage last year. Obviously, they were in the middle of filming. Like I think they'd just taken a break because of COVID and stuff. Um, but I saw there might be like much smaller amount of action, right? I thought they were going to be leaning more into the detective stuff, but I was glad to see they are still doing quite a few action sequences. Like we see quite a few shots of him fighting people. Um, I'm super excited. I think the vibe they've got going on with it is really cool. I love the designs of all the characters. I think Colin Farrell as like Penguin is probably going to be like the most odd one in the whole thing. Like it looks literally nothing like him. They've done such a good job with like the prosthetics. But overall, like really positive. The shots in it look really cool. Character designs are really cool. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's as long as the rumors are, which is like 3 hours or something, because
Yeah,
I'm down for having like 3 hours of this new Batman. I just hope that it's good, and that if it is good, I hope it sets up other films because I don't really want this to just be a one-off. But I think the rumor right now is that it sets up like a whole trilogy. So we'll see.
damn,
But I'm
that's
super looking forward to it.
that'd be awesome. Yeah, this Batman trailer looked great. I love how they use the same music but like a remix
Yeah.
version of it. That theme is like iconic. I don't know how many times I've seen that like original Batman trailer, but it's so many times. Yeah, it looks really cool. I was interested in finding out the Penguin like starts off getting like arrested, right, and he's conducting this all through
Riddler,
jail.
you
I
mean?
think there's like snippets of that. What was that?
You mean the Riddler?
The Riddler. Sorry, yeah, I was on
Yeah.
the Penguin. The Riddler. And yeah, just everything about that looked really cool. Selena Kyle, that was a really good casting choice for her as well. Robert Pattinson obviously still killing it. We got the like finally hear more of his voice a bit as well, which is really really cool. And yeah, I just really want to watch this movie. Like I sent you that one tweet like a few weeks ago where we're like supposed to have watched it by now, but it
Yeah.
got delayed. Obviously, I just really want to see this film. Like you, I don't even mind if it's 3 hours. Like yeah, I just want to watch it. So yeah, great trailer. It's coming out what March 4th or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's
Sometime in early
beginning of March. I'm
March.
not sure when, but I know it's March.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just want to watch that. 2022 is going to be a great year for DC in general. If all three of those Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, and Batman all drop. So yeah, can't wait. And speaking of movies, we'll talk about the Uncharted movie, which we finally got a trailer. This is like huge. Like this has been like a decade in the making. How long this movie's been announced before we finally got to see, you know, a trailer of it has been well over a decade now. I remember talking about it when I was like 10. So yeah, the Uncharted movie like first got like its footage leaked. I want to say like Wednesday night or Wednesday. No, it would have been middle of the day Wednesday. It was like essentially like a little snippet of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake falling off. It was essentially the Uncharted 3 scene. And then we got a date February 18th, which I think was already previously announced. Obviously we knew a new trailer was coming imminent, and then yesterday we finally got to see that drop. It's interesting. I actually thought the leak was better than the actual trailer because I think the leak has the best parts of that trailer. For me, a lot of the stuff with the story and the characters I don't like terribly much. So I guess we'll just talk about it. The stuff I don't like, obviously, Sully being played by Mark Wahlberg, I'm still very iffy on. In this trailer, he doesn't really sound like him much at all. There was a behind the scenes video that did drop, and in those you get snippets of him flying a plane, and he also calls kid, which was reassuring a bit because he didn't use that word at all in the trailer. And he was just, kind of talking to him like he's like a, regular person, right? Chloe apparently is in this movie. I watched this trailer a few times, and apparently that lady that was like in the middle of the trailer was supposed to be Chloe. I thought of it. I did record my reactions for this trailer, but I never ended up uploading it. But in that, when I saw that girl, I was like, I hope they're not trying to say that's Chloe, because that, wouldn't make sense for this film being an origins, movie about Nathan Drake and Sully. But yeah, apparently they're trying to say that that's Chloe. I get it because Lost Legacy also has its fan base, right? There's a lot of people that love Chloe. She's obviously one of my favorite characters as well. I just don't think this is the move to be, here in this movie. Focus on Nate and Sully. Have like an original adventure like that. I don't mind throwing in the Uncharted 3 sequence, but don't start throwing in characters from like later on in the trilogy, here on like the Origins movie. Besides that, the treasure they're going after is original. They do drop Sam like twice, name drop him twice, which is cool. And yeah, thought Nate was fine, or Tom was fine as Nate. Just, yeah, you got to make sure you don't take this film too seriously, because obviously this isn't going to be canon. This is just going to be some, special, movie that will be nice to watch for fans of the game to catch references on and enjoy like that live action, set pieces and shit like that. And also, still be something for original fans to kind of come at, newly and enjoy. So what were your thoughts on the Uncharted movie trailer?
Yeah, I know we've spoken kind of briefly on Discord about it, right? But overall, I was pretty positive on it. I've come out of that trailer the same way I was going into the film 5-10 years ago, in that I'm not expecting it to be anything really like the games. It's going to share the name and characters, but it's going to be very different because you're so attached to those characters, right? We've come to know them over the past sort of 10-15 years. We know how they sound, we know how they act. Like, it's very difficult for an actor to replicate that, especially, when they're trying to do something slightly different. So I was going into it expecting, Tom not to be quite like Nolan, and for Mark not to be quite like Sully, right? Like, it's just not, that's not going to be how it works. And I think it looks pretty good. I think if you were to watch it as somebody who has not played Uncharted, you would think it looks like a fun action film that you would go to the cinema to see. And from everyone I've spoken to that I'm friends with that isn't like massive Uncharted fans, they're in pretty much agreement with me, right? Like, the first thing they said to me was like, "Oh, so what do you think about the trailer then?" I'm just kind of like, "Yeah, it looks alright." Like, I'd go and see the film. Like, I'm gonna go and see it. Like, I think it looks like a fun film that I can enjoy, and it's gonna be quite funny and have some cool action sequences. And it might not necessarily, be word for word exactly what I would want from an adaptation of Uncharted. I think it's still gonna do a pretty good job of bringing those characters onto the big screen. In the grand scheme of things as well, right? Like, if we say Uncharted 4, that's sold what, 10-15 million copies at this point. That's going to be nowhere near what Sony want the amount of people in theaters, right? They're going to want a lot more than that. So, in theory, they're not really trying to make this movie for the fans. They're trying to make it for people that they want to then go and buy the game. It's not necessarily just for us. And I think some people forget that when they're watching stuff like this. They think it's, oh yeah, it's made just for the people that play the game, and that's not necessarily the case, right? But overall, like I said, I was pretty positive. I think Tom seems to be doing a pretty good job as Nate. There's a couple of scenes in that trailer that I thought, yeah, that it kind of hits it perfectly. I think the moment on the plane when he gets knocked off by the car, I was like, cool, yeah, that's basically Nate.
I wish you would have said no, 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 no. Like
yeah, I saw some people saying that, but maybe he does, and they just cut it out. Who knows? And also the Scottish guy, right, that comes up to him and he's speaking all this gibberish. He just goes, "What?" I was just like, yeah,
totally
that is a Nate
yeah.
thing. Like, that's a Nate-ism right there. Like, that's the kind of thing he would do. So that came across quite well. I don't like Mark Wahlberg as Sully. I don't think it works. Maybe it will when the film comes out. I just think he just doesn't sound enough like Sully. He's not got that grizzled voice, because even when Sully's younger, right, he still has the same voice because it's the same
smoker
actor.
voice, yeah.
So, like, he's still gonna have that grizzled voice. He's still smoking cigars. He's still got the mustache, but neither of those things Mark Wahlberg has. I think his character would automatically look more accurate if he had a mustache and was occasionally smoking a cigar.
Why didn't they have him give a cigar? Like, even not like the
Yeah,
mustache aside, like if you do one of those things, it will go a long way than just making him look like a young Nate. Like, what the fuck?
but I also wouldn't be surprised if like the last shot of the movie they get into like his jet plane and he's got a cigar in his mouth and he's got a mustache or something, like he's grown out a mustache. I wouldn't be surprised if they save that for like the end of the film or something, right? Just as like a little kind of nod for the fans. I could see that happening. But yeah, he's the one kind of thing that just doesn't really work for me because when he stood next to Tom Holland, I just see young Nate and old Nate. I don't see Nate
Yeah.
and Sully. They look too similar. And I didn't really get the kind of like buddy vibes between the two. I don't know if maybe that just doesn't come across in the trailer, but I just don't see. I see them more butting, like they don't butt heads in the right way. Um, but yeah, overall, I'm still positive. I think the Chloe thing is interesting. Like, I like the idea she's in it, just because we do know from like Uncharted 2 and stuff they have a history. So at some point before Uncharted 2 and presumably Uncharted 1, they did meet, and at that point Nate would be quite young anyway. So I could see them doing that in this. I think the reason why like me and you, Brandon, didn't quite notice it the first time round that it's her is she's got obviously a different accent.
Yeah, that
Um,
was a big thing
they
for me. I
seem
think the
they
casting is fine. Besides that,
yeah, she looks fine. Like they've obviously gone for more of a British accent, whereas in the game she has more of that New Zealand kind of accent. I think
well, it's like
is
it's
what they go
essentially just
for.
like if you had Flynn and you don't have his accent, it's like that's half the character gone right there, almost for me at
Yeah,
least.
but
But
I
it's also
think that
like it's hard. It's kind of like what we're saying. Like it's almost like if we were watching Nate being older, right, and he didn't have Nolan North's voice. The reason why this movie can get away with a lot of stuff is because they're younger versions of these characters.
yeah,
For like Nate, that's fine, but like with Chloe, it's like she still would sound the same. Like you're not gonna change her voice dramatically from like 20s to 30s, I guess. But yeah,
I think that's more just though because of like the actress,
the
right, Claudia
casting,
Black.
yeah.
I think that her character is meant to be like half British, right? But obviously Claudia Black is not. Um, so I think that kind of accent comes across from her own accent rather than necessarily the characters. So it's not too big a deal. It's just more noticeable with her because obviously the others just have American accents. So it's it's a bit more noticeable when you have like a foreign accent mixed in there. But yeah, like you, I'm still pretty positive on it. I'm excited to see the film. I think people should be a bit more open with it. I've seen a lot of negativity online, and I don't think really there's that much need for it. Like, just
I'm
wait.
surprised about that though. Like everyone's gonna hate on this shit.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like I think people take this stuff too seriously and take it very personally, and I don't think that's the way to go about it. Like, be a bit more open. No, it's not just for you; it's for plenty of other people that have never played the games. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm definitely going to give it a chance. But I think the trailer looked promising. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see how it turns out.
It's almost like that thing that happened with the Mario movie, like when that was announced that Chris Pratt would be playing Mario, and everyone was like, oh, I hate this casting and shit like that. It's like obviously they're not trying to recreate Mario authentically. Like it's obviously like a joke. It's like that's the point of the
Yeah,
film,
but
but
the
everyone's
difference
like,
there is they've got Charles Martinet in the film, just not as Mario. But as far as we know, Nolan North's not in this film. So,
I'm sure he'll. They had him on set one day.
I
I'm
mean,
sure he's gonna have
yeah.
a cameo.
I was also kind of thinking, I'm like, they make a
But I don't
lot
think
of
that would make a
references to
difference.
Sam in the trailer. I wonder if they are gonna have like Troy Baker come in as Sam or something. Like
What the
I was
hell?
like, I think it would be really weird, but at the same time, it'd be really interesting because I feel like Sam's gonna show up, right? They seem to be
They'd
making a
break the
big
fourth
deal
wall
of
for
it.
me.
Yeah, it would be weird, but because some people were saying, "What if Nolan North shows up as Sam?" I was like, "He's too old. It wouldn't work." Like it'd be
Yeah.
funny, but at the same time, he'd be because he's in like his 50s now. He'd just be too old to
Hey
play
man,
like an older brother, right?
now that Chloe's in the movie, like Elena's gonna be the post-credit scene. Watch. To make no sense.
She's filming them at the end or
What if
something.
we get Cutter? What if we get Cutter from the Uncharted movie before we get him in
Turns
the
out
games
I'm
again?
playing Cutter. I'm
There you
playing
go.
Charlie Cutter.
You what, mate?
You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, that was great though. Yeah, definitely. If you don't take it seriously, the movie does look good and it looks fun. It'll be cool to have like an original villain as well. So that's really cool. It's not like they're trying to recreate one game. It's just like they're throwing a bunch of stuff together, which I don't mind. Like the plane sequence coming in when he's a kid and stuff like that. The Chloe stuff still does seem odd to me, but at the same time, you make a good point. Like the character herself is like half, British, right? Claudia Black's interpretation of it with the Australian accent, just, her being Australian, right? Is kind of why it's iconic. We almost like attach that aspect of the actress to the character. So yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of the podcast. Definitely really, really cool to get a lot of the stuff announced and shown off. It's a great week for sure. And yeah, that being said, we'll see you next week for episode 46. Yeah, take care.
See you later.